Hey, Mike Cini here, Deputy Cini. Well, got in a little trouble for that video the other day, and I will start off by saying it shouldn't have been in uniform. But I want to give you the build-up and as to why I felt the need to do that so immediately. On that day, I was on patrol, and I already watched that video in the morning of the other officer as I described, and everything he said is spot on. I hope the rest of you have seen that video as well. But ultimately, I ended up pulling into Stewart's, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just about to get out of the car myself. Some guy pulls next to me, looks like me 5 years ago, and I watched him look at me and then immediately become extremely uncomfortable. Then I watched him, I could just see him cursing and throwing things around in his car. He started throwing stuff in the back, and he's just getting pissed off, and I could see that. It's very easy to see. And finally, he finds a little girl's T-shirt, a doll's T-shirt. I don't even know what little pink rag he had, but he just held it in front of his face and got out of the car. So I got out of the car because I immediately had a knot in my stomach that all of a sudden he's looking at me like I'm the problem here, like I'm going to be the one that leans into him, like he doesn't have enough going on in this world, and all of a sudden he's got to worry about me, jumping down his neck. So anyway, I ended up coming over. I said, hey, and as soon as he heard that, defensive as could be, was upset. Like, what do you want? I said, well, we're on the same team. We're on the same team. He kind of froze, and we talked for a couple minutes, and I told him, get your coffee. I put my mask on to go into Stewart's as well. But I wanted to make it clear that we're on the same team. Like, these people are stressing out, that we're not against you. Enough things are going on with police. The last in the world, this guy trying to get a coffee to go into Stewart's was looking at me like I'm the threat. Like I'm going to freak out at him. I'm not. That fired me up. I went to my spot and I made that video. I'll tell you, shouldn't have done it while I was in uniform. I'm currently suspended without pay for a couple of weeks. That's okay. Do the crime, do the time. So I'll sit here and I'll take that. I'm a little surprised by the no pay thing, but I made my point. And honestly, I stand by every single word that I said before. And sometimes doing the right thing costs you a little bit. Here I am. I got my kids for a couple extra weeks. And one other thing I thought was interesting is, with my newly found time off, I thought to myself, I got a lot of Marine friends. They're all over the country. Down in Florida, they're in Texas, they're in California, Idaho. I could go on and on. But I think I'm going to go talk to them and see what they think as police officers around the country, how they're dealing with this and what their perceptions are as a bunch of Marine Corps combat veteran police officers. Stand by for those videos. Be safe, everyone, and keep your eyes open.
Hey everybody, Dixon back. About, 600 years ago, white supremacy wasn't really a thing. 600 years ago, it's just, there were human beings in the world. There were just people. Some from Africa, some from Europe, some from Asia. They're just people. And then the Europeans began to go exploring. Their ships are able to go all over the world, and so they got greedy as fuck, and they had the musket. And 1455, the Roman Catholic Church made a law, and they split. They gave Portugal the right to the west coast of Africa, and they gave them the right to enslave Africans, to plunder them, to rape them, to rob them, and steal from anything they wanted from them. The Roman Catholic Church started the whole goddamn thing. And then, of course, they gave Spain the right to go out into the New World, conquer, steal gold, land, whatever they want to do, rape, murder. And that's exactly what they did. And that's exactly, it started, over 500 years ago. Today's 2020, and this is 1455. And the first ship, 1526, the first slave ship from Portugal landed in Brazil. And the whole goddamn thing began. And that's how we got where we are. And so, why did white supremacy start? To justify the greed. Portugal and all these European, France, England, the Netherlands, the Dutch, all these people, the Europeans, decided to proclaim that white people were superior and therefore had the right to imperialize, to colonize, to steal and enslave and rape and murder. And all these things were justified in the name of white superiority, in that we can have dominance over all black and brown people by nature. And that was the myth and the lie that was started to justify the European greed and evil. And that shit's been running for 500 fucking years. And here we are now, 2020. And white people are still a bunch of fucking white supremacists. Not a goddamn thing has changed. The only thing that's changed is the technology. You can see racism now. I saw a video of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery being hunted down, tracked, and lynched by 3 racists. That was a mob. That was a lynching. And that's a felony lynching, which is against the law. Now it's against the law. It didn't used to be. The civil rights laws passed. There's something called felony lynching. It's a hate crime. And anyhow, he was murdered. By the way, Ahmaud Arbery was a hell of a warrior. He fought for his life, and he lost that day. But his mom said, I hope his killers get the death penalty. And you know, I don't believe in the death penalty because our justice system's so fucked up. But in this case, let those motherfuckers fry. Because without accountability, without white accountability, without racist accountability, this shit will repeat itself. So there has to be accountability applied to all racists. And I mean all forms, the covert, the overt, the passive. And you know, the thing, and I've said this many times before, but here we are. And that's the whole thing about white supremacy, is it all comes down to greed. It's economics and privilege and dominance. That's what white people, that's what this nation, America, was built on. Was that this country was built exclusively for white people. And that's a fact. It always was. They don't say that. They didn't openly state it, but obviously it's true. And that's how white privilege works. A white person today in 2020 can go jogging down the fucking street, can walk into a house in construction and not be hunted down and fucking lynched in the fucking street. That shit doesn't fucking happen. A 12-year-old boy, Tamir Rice, playing with a little toy gun, if that had been a white kid, the cop would have said, hey, buddy, what are you doing? Instead of racing to a fucking park, jump out of the car and execute a young child. Emmett Till, going back 40, 50, 60 years ago, all he did was walk into a fucking store and the white lady lied and said he's harassing me. Lynched. This is how white supremacy works. And the other way white supremacy works, and what we're indoctrinated to do from birth, all of us, no matter who you are, if you are white, you are taught this shit, and you're taught it either directly or indirectly, consciously or unconsciously, you're taught it. And you're taught it by all kinds of different ways, all kinds of different messages, but it's taught. And there's all kinds of proof that it's taught. But we're taught to not give a fuck about our brothers and sisters that are black and brown. To not give a fuck about anybody outside of white. That's why that screaming silence you hear, or that you don't hear, from white folks, when there's lynchings and when there's huge, crazy injustices happening. In 2015, black people were 5 times more likely, unarmed black people were 5 times more likely to die from being killed by the police than white people. Today, I think it's 2.5. That's crazy. They're being lynched. If they're not being lynched by the police, they're being lynched by white, Trump-loving, Christian, white motherfuckers. And by the way, it's always been Christians, white Christians, that's behind this shit. The Roman Catholic Church started the whole goddamn thing. Look it up, folks. They started the whole fucking thing. The indigenous genocide, the black Holocaust, the Atlantic slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. It was the Roman Catholic Church supporting all that shit. And if you look at today, look at the people who killed Ahmaud Arbery. Christians, white Christians. They're racist. White Christians are largely racist and fucking hypocrites. White Jesus has been used to kill millions of people, indigenous people, and it's still going on today. And I'm not against Christianity. I'm against the way Christianity has been used. And I'm against white Jesus. White Jesus is a fucking lie. Even the Bible says Jesus wasn't fucking white. It's all a fucking lie. So all you white Christians out there that are racist, fuck you. You fucking low down fucking hypocrite. Check yourself. Check your fucking racism. And all the other white people in the world that remain silent. You're complicit. You're guilty. The only reason racial injustice and white supremacy thrives is because of the collective silence of fucking white people. White people just like me. That look like me. That won't say a goddamn thing when horrible fucking things are happening to our brothers and sisters. Racial disparities in every fucking institution in our fucking nation, and not a goddamn one of you give a fuck. Not one of you. If you do give a fuck, send in the fucking comment if you're white. But the majority of you, you know you don't give a fuck. You know it to be true. I don't know, is it 95%? Is it 90? Is it 99%? I don't know. But it's a lot of you. You don't give a fuck. And it's that fucking silence that is consent. That is why innocent people are being fucking killed in the street. Check yourself, white America. Once again, check yourself. Check your fucking silence. Being not racist is not enough. You have to be anti-racist. Because if you're not, then your silence is getting innocent people killed. Yeah, you want your privilege. Yeah, you're worried about karma because of all the nasty shit we've done to black people. You know what we've done to black people, white America. You know goddamn well what we've done. And that's what you're fucking scared of. We've all been indoctrinated and taught as white people. White nationalism. Don't care about black people. Protect your own interests. When I was a little boy, I was told to lock the fucking doors every time we went through the goddamn black neighborhood. All that shit was taught to us. Everybody. What we have done to black people is dirty. And it's still happening, and you still don't care. So once again, white people, check yourself morally. Grow some moral courage racially. Start doing what's right. Don't remain silent. Speak up about it. You know, make phone calls. Support people like Sean King, who's making a movement, who's getting justice for people like Ahmaud Arbery. Him and his amazing crew and his team, support him, help him, do something to support justice for the things that are wrong. Things are not fair in America, and they never have been. We are a largely racist nation. Stop the fucking silence. Stop the fucking denial. Stop the fucking projection. Nobody lives under black supremacy. May God help white America.
Black Lives Matter. Is it a movement that we as a nation should all get behind? Or should we be skeptical? Is it a movement that will lead to peace? Or will it inherently lead to more violence? Is it a movement that is based off of legitimate grievances? Or is it based on a lie? Well, let's look at the facts. Now, before you call me a race traitor, and before you assume that I hate myself, let me just say this. I am black. My mother is black. My father is black. My brothers are black. My sisters are black. My uncles, aunts, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers are all black. And I love them very much. So no, I do not hate my own kind. And no, I do not hate myself. I love myself. And I love my kind. And I love my family. But you know what else I love? Facts. So why don't we go ahead and look at the facts? The general claim that is made by Black Lives Matter as an organization is that black men and women, specifically men in America, are targeted by police and by racist white people and white supremacists simply for being black. They say that it is a genocide. Now, me and you both know what a genocide is. You think of horrible tragedies that costed millions of lives in history. Now, what if I told you that what's happening is not a genocide and doesn't happen to black people exclusively? Police brutality happens to everybody, to all races. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my boys in blue. Of course there are going to be some bad apples in there. And yes, police brutality is a problem. But is it the problem that they are making it out to be in the context that they are saying? And is it exclusive to black people? Well, we got to look at the numbers to check it out. So let's take a look at the official data to see how many blacks were killed in the hands of the police in 2019. So we have 235 deaths of black people by the hands of police in 2019. Most of them armed, some unarmed, very few. Now let's take a look at the stats for 2019 on how many white people were killed by police. 370. In 2018, 209 blacks killed by police. 399 whites killed by police. In 2017, 223 blacks killed by police, and 457 whites killed by police in 2017. So there are more white people that are killed by police every single year than black people. Now you may be wondering to yourself, well, why haven't I heard about this? I mean, most people have just assumed that blacks are the #1 target of police. And that simply isn't true. More whites are killed every year than blacks. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, Mark, blacks are only 13% of the population, while whites, if you don't include Hispanic whites, make up 60% of the population. And while yes, you might be right, but if you're looking at it that way, you're not looking at the whole picture. Now, a lot of people know this, but some don't. But blacks are 13% of the population, yes. But they commit over 50% of the violent crime in America. That's half. And if you want to get really specific, black men, who make up 6% of the population, are the ones committing the majority of these crimes. Now, I'm no mathematician, but I know if a particular demographic is committing crimes at a much higher rate than other demographics, then that specific demographic is going to be much more likely to have encounters with the police, and unfortunately, some ending with death. Now let's take a look at a city like New York City. 75% of the shootings are committed by blacks, as well as 62% of the murders. On the flip side, whites make up 3% of the murder in New York City. So isn't it common sense that since blacks as a demographic are more likely to commit crimes, wouldn't that logistically mean that they are more likely to have run-ins with the cops, that they are more likely to face police brutality, that they are more likely to be killed by the police? I would think so. Now that we have that part of the story down, did you ever wonder why is it that the entire system seems to be in favor of Black Lives Matter and the protests that have been taking the nation by storm? Well, if you're wondering why, that's a pretty good question. Not only do all the mega corporations support it, not only do most government officials, so do some very shady characters. Now, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the Antifa members directing people what to do, and that might have a lot to do with what is the overall agenda of these protests. Members of the Minneapolis City Council, a Democrat-ran city, might I add, are now vowing to dismantle the police. They want to defund, dismantle, and disband the police in their city. Now, what do you think would happen if they were to do that? Do you think that it would save lives? Because there hasn't been too many deaths involving police officers and black men. But you know what there has been? There's been plenty of black on black crime. 94% of black men are killed by other black men. So do you think that number is going to get higher or lower if you disbanded the police? Now, like I said, I'm no mathematician, but I think it's pretty obvious. Do you think it'll save lives, or do you think lives will be lost? It is 18.5 times more likely for a police officer to be shot by a black male than it is for a black male to be shot by a police officer. What does that tell you? It tells you that the Black Lives Matter movement is based on a lie. A lie that black men are being systematically and racially targeted because of who they are. And that is simply not true. The numbers show us, when you look at the whole picture, black men commit more crime, therefore have more run-ins with police, therefore are more likely to die in the hands of the police. It's really that simple. And yes, I will end this video by saying that all lives matter. Liberals say that saying all lives matter is racist because all lives aren't being taken or at risk right now. And that is simply the furthest thing from the truth. All lives are taken every single day by violence from all kinds of people. All lives should be addressed. All lives should be cared about. And all lives do matter. Thank you everyone. If you liked this video, please like and follow my page and share this video. Thanks again, and God bless.
Do you know how many
No, shut up.
No.
Can you shut your mouth for a minute?
No.
Because I actually work in the ghetto. I see the people.
Do you know why they're in that
physically go and I
position?
see these people.
Do you understand the systematic
They
and
get all
historical
kinds
reason
of
for why they're
chances
in that
and
position?
They don't care. All they want to do is be ghetto.
No.
Yes, there's
No.
some that don't, and there's good people.
No.
And then there's most of them just want to suck off the system or do something bad like drugs or gangs. And that's all they
They
care
have
about.
been oppressed. They have
It
not been
doesn't
given
matter.
the
They
same
get the
opportunities
chances.
you have
Yes,
had.
they do, and there's plenty of black people.
No, they
There's
don't,
plenty
Dad.
There's plenty of
And you not
minorities.
recognizing that as an issue is the reason why it's still continuing today.
I see them all over. There's all kinds of successful people that are of color. It doesn't matter what color, brown, white.
But it's a lot
orange,
harder for
yellow.
them to get to that
It doesn't
position.
matter. When they do, they're fine. But there's always filthy animals. And that
You're calling people of color black
No.
animals. You're calling them animals.
I'm talking. You didn't let
Are
me
you
finish.
kidding me?
You didn't let me finish.
That's not
I'm
okay.
talking about the
No
trigger
matter
part,
what,
too.
that's not okay. No matter what, it's
It
not
is
okay.
okay.
Racism is not okay. Why do you think that racism is okay?
It's like, oh, that's mine.
Really, I'm gonna look at. No, I'm looking at
That's
statistics
my
right
medal. I
now.
gotta get a necklace.
Your statistics they can be warped. Statistics can be warped. You want me to show you videos?
So why are my?
Do you want me to show you videos of cops? I will do
why
it.
is statistics wrong?
Because they can be warped. I'm not giving statistics right now. They can be warped. Personal experiences can't.
No, because this is actually putting it into play. When you
Do I need to show you a bunch of videos of cops attacking protesters? Peaceful protesters.
Watch that
listen
shit.
to this. This is the number.
You mean I'm informed and educated?
You're not though.
Yes, I am.
You're one-sided informed.
Mom, I was watching political stuff and you said to turn that off because you don't want to hear about it. That means that I am educated on it and you are not.
I'm sick of hearing it.
The fact that you can have that ignorance, ignorance for the majority is bliss.
Okay, so
Ignorance for the minority
I'm
is
looking at statistics
destruction.
that are wrong. This is just pure wrong information out there.
Just give me the statistic.
In 2017, 457 white people were shot to death by the police in the United States.
Okay.
223 were black.
76% of the population is white. 13% is black.
I get that.
If they were being killed at the exact same rate by police officers, the rate of black people being killed would be 8.9. But it's not. It's 24%. The rate of white people being killed should be about where it is. So they're being killed at a higher rate. There's more white people, meaning that the amount of people killed by cops who are white would be higher.
The reaction of the person. I'm not saying
Because they're
I'm
tired.
not saying it's
They're tired
right.
of being treated
I'm
that
not
way.
saying it's right.
Good.
But if they started teaching them that this is the world that we live in, you don't want to be killed. Why do you think your friend's father taught him that?
So that his black son doesn't end up dead like Tamir Rice.
Because he doesn't want him to grow up with a chip on his shoulder that
He doesn't
no
want his
police
black son to end up dead.
Exactly.
That's not okay. Why do you think that's okay?
Because
why is it something that you're okay with? Why is that a reality that you're okay with?
I'm okay with it.
But you are.
No, I'm not.
So stand against it. So stand against it. If you're not okay with it, so stand against
when I'll
it.
stand against it? When the black people in the ghetto stop carrying an illegal weapon. When the black people in the ghetto stop murdering each other.
I'll start caring about cops when they stop killing black people.
I'll start caring about black people when they stop killing cops.
My name is Michael Cini. I wanted to make a quick video after seeing one recently from a fellow police officer who pointed out and was very verbal about his thoughts that I believe many of us share. I decided to make my own video, encourage others to do the same. What we've seen in recent months is none other than what I believe is going to be viewed as one of the biggest power grabs in American history. We've seen the Constitution seemingly suspended and constitutional rights of citizens tossed aside under the guise of safety and security, something that we've seen before as well. You know, I swore an oath to the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I stand on that oath, and I will continue to stand on that oath, and there is not a human being that can alter my oath between myself and the Constitution, myself and God. You know, choice means having multiple options. If you find yourself only looking at what you see on one news source or the other, that's not choice. You're just falling in line. You know, I ask every human being and every American citizen to question things and look at them. Look at both sides. Anyone that knows me from my political side of my life knows that I don't really walk one side hard left or hard right. I stand somewhere in the middle, a place I am proud to be. But you have to look and at least acknowledge some of these videos like Plandemic, where we have doctors out there talking about some things that are inconsistent with what you're seeing in mainstream media. At least look at it. Look at it and then decide, okay, does that make sense or not, and make a choice. Because that's what freedom's about, choice. But if you're not even watching these things and you're just taking one side and just eating every bit of it and projecting it, then what are you really? Sheep. Okay? We look for more than that and expect more. You're supposed to educate yourself before you vote. I always do. I read things. That's part of where I've made it this far in life, and my opinions made because I make them. I judge nobody by what anyone says. I judge them on my own interactions. You should judge this entire situation on your personal interactions and see what you come up with. You know, as far as immune system goes, I find it so troubling that people are so quick to lock themselves in their house for 60, 90 days. Yes, corona is terrible. Yes, it's killing people, and that scares me. But I always look for a strategy to beat something, not just to barely survive, okay? I'm out there every single day dealing with people and dirty germs, and I've been just fine. even per Governor Cuomo's daily news, and I'm going to post a picture on here. Today, I took a screenshot of his newscast. And as of today, May 7th, he put out there that 66% of new corona cases are coming from people that are not leaving their house. Ask yourself why. Well, if you look at any of these doctors that recently put a video up about your immune system, it's that every one of us goes out there and touches dirty germs all day, every day. Children do it all during your existence. And those germs ultimately serve to increase and boost your immune system's ability to fight common things, like even say a cold. Now, ask yourself, if somebody's in their house for 120 days surrounded by Lysol and no new germs, no immune system activation from 90 days of being around the same exact things, what do you think is going to happen in the fall when they start to leave their house? I would suggest a common cold is now going to possibly spike their fever and put them in the hospital. That's problematic. That's going to cause a hospital overflow. Young 20-year-olds that have perfectly healthy immune systems can keep social distancing. I just call that self-respect. But to lock yourself away from society and shut down our economy and deteriorate our entire society's immune systems, it's not right. As of today, 66% of new cases of corona are coming from people that are from their home, have not left their home, yet they get it. Do they touch groceries? Do they have Amazon still coming to their house? I'm pretty sure they do, and they're still getting it. Those of us that are out here every day have herd immunity. I'm not afraid to say that anymore. The truth is, I remember being sick months ago. I know many people that have, and we're just okay now. Think about that. Think about your own interactions and see if you can really say that you've given this the thought of both sides, or are you just following along? Another thing that should flag to any of us is censorship. I've been censored more times in the last 2 months than I have ever in my life. And when I say censored, I mean I put things on Facebook. I'm not getting a notice that says, hey, you violated our policy, this can't be on there. That hasn't happened to me one time. I don't even know what that looks like. But I know that I've communicated with people, and within a couple volleys of thread in the public setting, the entire thread disappears, and that's just that. Last time it happened to me was yesterday. I was in communication with a young female who basically pointed out some inconsistencies in the media. Scrolling through, I said, you're exactly right. Look into this. She said something, I said something, entire thread disappeared. She then reached out to me and said, did you erase it? No, I didn't. She's confused. How did that just happen? That's never happened to her before. I told her, welcome to the club. The censorship going on right now on social media is alarming. It should alarm you. Videos are being taken down under the guise of for public safety. And here's another point that fires me up to no end. When you have men in power literally saying that you are not allowed to protest during the pandemic. You're not allowed to protest during the pandemic? You're right. You don't want people on top of each other. But then you need to stop making laws and changing things. The entire American system of government is based on the fact that you work for the people. And when you push the people too hard, they come together and tell you you need to knock it off. So when you're saying you cannot exercise that hugely important American right, but you're still continuing to make laws and change things and implement changes that have far-reaching effects, do you see the monopoly here? Don't protest, not allowed to protest, don't leave your house, but we're going to change X, Y, Z. And then suddenly I see Bill Gates, suddenly in charge of New York education. He's got no background in that. He's a good computer guy. I don't buy any of this. You want to change our entire way of life based on something that has a kill. It does kill, but at a smaller number than they've projected. And some people are willing to change our entire way of life. I despise every single time I'm forced as a healthy person to walk around here with a mask on. I don't like it. It's unconstitutional. It is completely unconstitutional. So if you're okay with it, at least be able to admit and say, yes, it is unconstitutional, but I support breaking the Constitution from time to time. But don't sit here and say somehow that anybody that dissents your opinion that you should be locked in your house for 3 months or 4 months is somehow not supporting the team. I'm out here supporting the team every day. I've served in combat theaters all over this world. And there's that other point I wanted to make. This other police officer did too. He's an Army Special Operations operator, and now he's a police officer. And he brings a great point, and it hit me hard this morning when I watched his video. He says flat out, you know, how terrible combat is, and that a lot of these people don't understand how close it could be when you really start trampling on people's rights for them to rise up. That is part of the American spirit. And we're seeing these people start to talk, and the chatter's up, hence, you know, all the suppression on social media. I've been overseas and I've been in combat, and it's terrifying. And I was in a country that has been abused for hundreds of years under a complete and utter dictatorship. And with old equipment and limited supplies, they put up one heck of a fight. Those of you out there that think that somehow Americans are just going to roll over and continue to let you trample all over their rights, especially you police officers, I will tell you, I am not naive to what some of the people in this world have, and Americans especially, the kind of hardware they keep locked in deep, dark places. And I am well aware of their fighting spirit, because 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was one of them too. I put on a badge because I'm proud to serve my community in a helpful manner. I wear this badge right here because I support the Constitution of the United States of America, and I've already accepted and resigned myself that I'd be willing to risk my life over, you know, for anyone else's that I stated an oath to serve. In this case, me being verbal right now is the same exact concept. People need to open their eyes. Look what's going on. Look at multiple media sources. Look at some of these videos and really ask yourself if this is all making sense to you. Do these steps are we taking, are they effective? If they are effective, how is 66% of new corona cases in New York coming from people that haven't left their house? Think on that for a minute. Just know, if you're a police officer out there, I hope you all start to really get the nerve to speak your mind and speak the truth. Point out these things, and hopefully others will join. They're starting to see doctors out there and come together to really make it clear that we support the Constitution. We support human life and protecting the most human life we can in this country. And we can't do that if we cripple our economy and send our young and healthy to erase their immune systems in their homes. I support everyone's right of free choice. Whether you want to stay in your house for 1 year or not, that's up to you, and I support every bit of your right to do that, because this is America. But stop virtue signaling and acting like the rest of us are criminals because we want to go visit our relative who wants to visit us. Because I'll tell you right now, I visit my family. Yes, I do. And I'll continue to do that. And there's not a human being that's going to stop me from doing that. To the rest of you out there, I wish you all the best. Be safe. Educate yourself. And just know there are officers out here that understand what's going on. And we stand to defend the oath to the Constitution above all else. Thanks.